Well, he's been credited with saving his country from civil war and implementing far-reaching reforms that have already begun to change the political landscape in East Africa. Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has ignited enthusiasm both at home and abroad. Here in the United States, he's been hailed on Capitol Hill as the right man at the right time. U.S. Congressman Chris Smith, who chairs the U.S. House Subcommittee on Africa, told a special hearing on Ethiopia that Abiy deserves America's support. Smith led a congressional delegation to Ethiopia last month to press for continued reforms. He told VOA's Sora Halake he's optimistic about Ethiopia's future.
We're raising some really good hopes about what Prime Minister Abiy is doing, Abiy I should say, and I think he's doing some very good things. The key for this hearing was to say, you know, you're making progress. We want you to know that Congress, you know, is really supportive to the greatest extent possible, and so we're going to keep that engagement and enlarge upon it.
Now you listen to testimonies. What do you say about it?
I would say that, you know, Ethiopia has really had a serious human rights abuse problem for decades. Since April, there's been hope that, you know, there's been a pivot, a real pivot towards reconciliation. The president or the prime minister's inaugural speech was filled with an open hand of friendship to all the disparate groups, the ethnic groups. And I think the more he does that and the more they give him space and compete, you know, it's a democracy, compete for positions, but to do it in the most civil way possible, always respecting the opponent.
So what the ordinary people are saying about the change, are they taking advantage of it, especially the youth?
I always talk to the diaspora here, and they're encouraged, but they've waited a long time for this, so they wanted to move along in a good clip, good pace, and I certainly understand that. And we got to make sure that our part is that there's never a retrenchment. You know, nobody goes back to the bad days when political prisoners just filled the prisons. And we met with a lot of torture victims in Addis, again on this trip, and they told stories that were just mind-boggling as to how they were mistreated, women and men. I mean, some of it's so despicable you can't even talk about it. It's so horrible. And yet they experienced it and they carry the scars of that. So there needs to be an accountability for that. And the idea of truth and reconciliation and peace.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Well, Smith stressed that Ethiopia's economy needs to grow to provide jobs for young people. He also said there also needs to be an opportunity for those who have been internally displaced to return home.